Welcome to Blueprint Boost for Contractors, the podcast that's your go-to source for unlocking the secrets to successful marketing, gaining valuable insights, and growing your contracting business with less stress. Your host is David Brooks, and he's thrilled to be your guide on this journey. As a seasoned expert in the contracting industry, David understands the challenges you face. That's why each episode is crafted to provide you with actionable strategies and proven blueprints to boost your business to new heights.
We'd like to welcome everyone to the latest episode. Thanks for tuning in. David Brooks here at Contractor Rhino. As I'm about to announce, we have another guest. And this time, I'm going to allow him not only to introduce himself, but I'm going to allow him to be able to drive this conversation today. Wherever you want to go, Austin, is where we're going to take it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Uh, so everybody, my name is Austin Milam. I'm currently 29 years old. I'm based in the Northern Virginia market, just outside of DC. And yeah, I co-own a construction company that primarily does exterior, but I do some interior when it calls for it. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for reaching out, and it's an honor.
Yeah, no, thank you, Austin. Thanks. So 29 years old in roofing and construction. How did you get there, man?
So nobody grows up saying, "Hey, I want to get into the roofing business," right? That's not even a job that most people even consider unless maybe their dad does roofing. Um, but basically, yeah, I was going to school for finance, and I had some jobs selling. I tried out selling cars, and it was okay, but it was a brutal grind. And I was just looking to make some money while I was in school. I was in school for finance. Finance is a personal passion of mine, and I knew somebody whose father had kind of branched out and started a roofing company on the side. And one day he just needed somebody to drive a dump truck. And at the time I was doing a job I didn't really care about. The money was about the same. And I had known this person for a few years. So I said, yeah, okay. I'll start driving a dump truck. It can't be that much bigger than, an F-150, right? It's a little bit bigger than an F-150. And, going through DC and rush hour traffic can be a little stressful, but, I never hit anything. Um, but yeah, just slowly but surely, while I was still trying to figure out where I wanted to go in my career and things, I was a little bit late getting into college because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I had a bunch of friends that, some of them hated the career choices that were available to them and spent a bunch of money, and I didn't want to be that person, so I figured I'd make some money while I went to school, and then just kind of as it grew, hey, Austin, you want to come along with me to this job? I need your help for this. I need your help for that. And then slowly I just started learning the business. And I thought, there's not a lot of young guys doing this. And it definitely not a lot of, excuse me, a lot of young guys that are trying to kind of start their own company and whatnot. They're, again, just looking for a Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, just some beer money for the weekend and, get them through. So I started to pick up the trade, and I had a great mentor, Antonio, who he's a super by the book guy, and I mean he knew everything. You asked him a question, he probably had the answer for you right there, like he had been studying for you to question him on it. So I got lucky in that sense that somebody that spent years in the Navy in communication really learned to communicate well and teach, and it seemed to kind of fall in my lap. It wasn't anything destined for me, or it wasn't my personal passion to go into roofing.
Nice, and that's a good journey, right? To be able to kind of go on, look to see what your friends were doing, how they felt about their current positions. I like that you took your time, right? You wanted to make sure that you picked something and were going to do something that was going to interest you, but also, provide a unique opportunity for you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure, anybody that's a homeowner or has to deal with maintenance people. A lot of these people they're getting older, right? And the new generation, a lot of my friends they're in tech or they're in, some corporate job, but there's not a lot of people going into trades, and there's starting to be an alarm sounded in the business where it's like, hey, it's it's getting tough to find people that are reliable to come do trade work, you know? And then you hear your friend does HVAC work for a couple of years and is making over 100 grand a year. Or, you know, you got an electrician that's making over $150,000 a year. These are viable paths if you're willing to learn the trade and, you know, work with your hands. Hey, you're going to accept a little more risk than somebody who probably sits in their corporate office, but yeah, these jobs pay. These jobs pay, and you get paid to learn. You know, you don't have to pay 100 grand to learn.
Mhm. And I think what you said is so beneficial and crucial, that trades people are really hard to come by now, and trades even in school, with the younger generation, and then they're coming up, and it's not accessible to them as it was maybe our fathers or our grandfathers, in a different era, different time in which trades were more common. Now it's a shift, and there's a lot of other things being looked at or focused on, but we do need qualified people in trades. You can make a really decent living in the trades, and it's something that really just needs to get a lot more visibility, and a lot more training, and being able to educate younger people, and even people that's like not as younger, to be able to say, hey, look, if you're looking for a change in the opportunity, if somebody wants to change their situation, it's still not too late. It's still very possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you're willing to work hard, you're willing to learn a new skill. Yeah, there's opportunities out here. I can tell you there are plenty of times where I'm looking for new reliable people. I'm always looking to hire new reliable people. I'll take you as is. If you're willing to show up and work on time, work hard, do kind of how things are supposed to be done, not cut corners, I promise you within a couple years you'll make 100 grand, you know? And it's not it's not a field where you're seeing a huge uptick in replenishing people. So it's a viable career path for years to come, you know? I know a lot of people in tech are starting to get worried about AI and hey, is my job safe in a few years? Well, no, I don't see AI taking over the roofing business, the siding business, you know, windows, doors. That stuff that it requires a human touch, and you'll see a huge range in price. You get a couple quotes on something,
Mhm,
some person's willing to do it for 1,500. Some guys are trying to charge $10,000, right? And
mhm,
there's everybody in between that, just to show you like, hey, the money is out here. You know, if the guy is willing to do it for $1,500, that's only going to take him a day, right? He's probably going to profit $400 or $500 on that job, and that's cash in his pocket that he's going home with that day. Um, so yeah, I really employ people to really take a look at trades if you're kind of lost, you don't know what to do, you like working with your hands. Again, my as you said with our parents and grandparents, I didn't grow up in a house, and my dad's mechanically inclined. You know, he's an engineer.
mhm,
Where we were fixing cars in the backyard, right? I think my dad showed me how to change a tire, maybe showed me how to do brakes once, but it wasn't a part of everyday life. And
mhm.
I feel like a lot of other people didn't even get that from their parents, you know? So there's just no introduction to hands work.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how like people aren't really exposed to that, and how beneficial learning those basic and core skills are. I remember my father used to, whenever he wasn't like a professional handyman or anything like that, but when there was a project or something around the house, or somebody asked him to help out and do something, he would take me along, and I would dread it. I was I was like, I'd rather be, hanging out with my buddies, and, doing sports and things like that. But he knew, like, it was going to be valuable for me, right? Certain things that, it would be nice for you to know as you're, going into adulthood, and you branch out on your own, just being able to just do the basics, and, know different kind of screwdrivers, and understanding what a circuit breaker is, and just those different things that are so the lessons were so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like I said, you know, I got dragged onto some of he wasn't doing house calls, but, you know, he has a few rental properties and it's like, hey, come help me hang drywall. And I'm thinking, man, there's nothing that I would like to do less than hang drywall right now. But again, it saved me a lot of money in my own personal house, right? Like, hey, I'm willing to change out my hot water heater, which somebody will quote me $4,000. And, you know, out of that 4,000, I bet you 2,500's just in the labor for the 3, 4 hours that they spent there, right?
Mhm.
So there's definitely money to be made. YouTube has made it super accessible that you can learn pretty much any skill. So even if you're afraid or you don't know if a trade would work for you or something like that, just YouTube some videos, you know. Hey, does this seem like something I might be interested in? And there's a market. Most repair shops and things like that. These are mom and pop shops. The corporate America hasn't quite taken over the industry of trades just yet. You know, most companies are still locally owned, family operated, and there's room. You know, there we have room. We have work that we turn down sometimes because it's not worth it for me to go out and do that work. But there's somebody with no work that would, you know, love the opportunity at that job. And it's just, you know, these people are willing to pay. So definitely take a look at trades, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, them being able to take a really good hard look at trades, and there's so many different aspects in the trades, avenues that they can go into. And so the possibilities are really endless.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you know, but going back to my journey a little bit, I basically for the first 3 or 4 years, I ate I had the short end of the stick. You know, I'm moving trash, I'm picking up material, carrying, you know, bundles of shingles up a ladder. Those things are 80 to 100 pounds each, right? Not everybody can do that. That's a lot of weight.
Mhm.
Get fiberglass on you in the middle of July, you know, so it's tough. And you're doing this for $100 a day, right? And that's pre-tax.
Mhm.
So you got to be willing to, it's not for the weak a lot of times, right? You have to be mentally strong and say, hey, I'm going to get through the worst part of this so that I can show and I know what the value of this labor is. So when I'm, you know, as you get later on and you start bidding quotes and things like that, you know what that guy at the bottom's doing and how much you're going to have to pay him all the way up to the top technician who's really the expert in doing that.
Mhm.
So I did kind of that bottom work for 3 or 4 years. Then I spent about 5 or 6 years really doing the inspections of it and the selling of it. And then we got an opportunity. I'm not actually the first owner of this business. There was somebody that we had subcontracted for, and you know he was in his upper 70s, didn't have any children, and he wanted to go the route with where the company would be taken care of by somebody that he knew. So he had offered us a price. We thought it was a good price for the volume that he was doing and for our expertise. So business partner and I, we came to an agreement with him, and you know we kind of took over a couple years ago. And you know he was really doing a lot of the work by himself and just subcontracting everything. And we had already had you know from the years of being in the industry, we already had a bunch of connections. We knew the suppliers, we knew the manufacturers, and you know we kind of hit the ground running, doing a few $1 million a year. And you know we're both still young. We're both she had just turned 30. I'm turning 30 next year, and you know, we got plenty of gas left in the tank to see where we can take this thing.
Nice, nice. That's excellent. Being able to you said uh, a few different things there that really stood out. You have a really good future, bright outlook ahead of you. You're young, but you worked your way up, right? You just didn't start to where you're at today. Like you had to put in your time, you had to learn, you had to kind of take the journey, right? So as you're along and as you're going along in your journey, what was like one of your most challenging roofing projects?
Oh man, I think they hit me hard out of the start. There's one time and this dump truck I was driving was like a 1990 like C3500, no AC, roll down windows. You know, it was kind of sketchy to drive, especially when it was fully loaded, you know. And the first it must have been the first or second month that I really started getting on the roof. They had me shoveling these rocks into contractor bags and throwing them off the third story. And I must have gone to the dump like 7 or 8 times that day. And it was in the middle, I think it was in May, but it was like one of the hotter days in May. And I just remember thinking, like, wow, I want to do this for the least amount of time as possible. Um, and it was rough. But you know, there's also been times where you've been on the roof and you know maybe your ladder isn't as secure as you had wanted it, or you know there's something going on. And I did have this one time where I had set my ladder and the top ring barely got to the top, right? And this thing's almost vertical. Definitely shouldn't have been on that ladder. And it was a slate roof. So now anybody that's been on slate tiles, it's a smooth rock surface. There's not a lot of grip to it.
Mhm.
And I'd kind of slipped forward when I got off, and luckily there was a snow guard there. But that one will always stick in my mind and remind me, hey, there are some jobs it's worth walking away from. You don't need to take every job. You don't need to risk your life for a couple $100 that somebody's going to beat you up on anyway on the price because they don't understand. And but those two really stand out in my mind as like, wow, I don't want to be in that situation anymore. You know.
No, that's like so valuable, right? You learn that lesson, you're like, I'm not putting myself there again, right? And that's important for a lot of people to be able to realize, and to our listeners too, to just think about, sometimes you have to walk away from it, right? It's not worth it. It can wind up just being too much of a headache, an unsafe condition, and you have to be able to learn to just not take everything, right? You have to pick and choose.
Absolutely. And as you continue to grow, when if you're first starting out a company or you're kind of doing side work just to, see where you can go. At first you can't be as selective, right? You're probably taking, hey, you got a referral from this person and hey, you need the money and it is what it is. Um, but as you grow and as your company grows, yeah, you're going to start to phase out some of those jobs where it's like, hey, it's just not worth it to me. And you can either refer it to somebody else and hopefully it comes back around or help somebody else get a start. Or just, hey, ma'am, this isn't that difficult to do. You can have a handyman do it for this much. And they're probably worth doing because I'm at the point now where my minimum charge is around $700 for me to even get somebody out there, which for some people, it's not worth it. And I'll let them know, I do a free inspection, but hey, it's probably not worth paying me to get this out here because my guys get paid pretty well. They're well into their journey of their career, and you're better off going with kind of a smaller company or this type of operation. But yeah, it's important that as you grow, start being a little more selective with your jobs. Um, because what's the opportunity cost of taking that job? It's not just that you didn't get paid that much, but now you might not be able to start this bigger job or this better opportunity coming around because you're tied up with these smaller things. And it's difficult. There's no formula to figure out, hey, when do I, not take this job because it's not worth it and, instead try to go here. It's just something that's learned throughout being in the business.
No, that's valuable insights right there, right? That knowledge of being able to know that and realize that, and being able to also point the homeowner in another direction, right? Knowing that it wouldn't be beneficial to be able to even go that route.
Yeah, I never want to tell a homeowner straight up no.
Yeah.
It's something like my company doesn't we don't do any HVAC work, right? But I've had to replace the fan in my furnace. So like I've seen HVAC. My dad is into the commercial side of HVAC, like big boilers and things like that. Um, but I'll let them know, like, hey, this isn't something that we'll do, but you should contact this type of company. I hate not giving any information at all and just seeing like I don't know what's going on. I'd rather tell someone I don't do this. This is where you should, take a step next. And people appreciate that and they remember you.
No, people will definitely appreciate that, and it's about giving really good customer service, giving potential customers, being respectful, being able to help them, because they don't know, right? They just say I have a need and I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know I need a professional to be able to help me out here.
Exactly. And I've had plenty of people like, hey, I don't even know if you were the right person to call. This is my issue. And a lot of times I am the right person to call. They had good instincts. But yeah, sometimes people don't even know where to start. But you hit it right, the nail right on the head. You want to give good customer service. I am a consumer myself. I think when we had spoke last week, I was actually getting my floors done, and there were some issues that popped up. They were just terrible optics, terrible customer service from this side. And I kind of let them know, like, hey guys, this is how this is perceived. You guys shouldn't really do this. It's not adding any value. It's not helping you at all either. Um, and if you guys want to charge, more premium rates, you got to do premium work. Good customer service, take your time, be honest with your customers, things like that. It really does go a long way. Sure, every once in a while you might get undercut by somebody who's deceiving and, maybe they don't have the license they're supposed to, they don't have the insurance they're supposed to. Um, but it's okay if you stay the path, you do what you're supposed to, you're honest with people, they'll pay you more money.
Mhm. Yeah, no. they will, and it's being honest and realizing that you have to be able to provide that good quality of work, right? If you want to make a really good name for yourself and you want referrals and you want to do good business, you want to set the standard, right? You want to be the standard that everybody else is looking at and say, hey, I want to model myself after what they're doing over there because their customers and their experience is just, people are raving about them.
Absolutely. And I don't know how much research you did in my company, but if you look at our Google reviews, I mean, I have like 500 five-star reviews.
I saw.
I have people ask me if we're legitimate, like, hey, I thought you guys were a fake company.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, I'll get a competing bid will fall into my lap, and I'll look up the company. Hey, what are their reviews? Who am I competing against? Because if you're asking me to price match, which I don't really recommend, because most of what we do is handmade, right? If somebody's way lower than me in price, there's probably a reason. We all get the same material. Labor can't be that much different. Overhead, maybe. But yeah, I'll look at reviews, right? And these guys might have 30 reviews with a 3.5 star rating. There's no way I'm gonna price match that guy, right? My name brings some value to the table, even if we're doing the same service, right? You're gonna get taken care of. I'm gonna stand behind my warranty. If you call me at 9 o'clock at night, there's a good chance I'm gonna answer the phone for you because I know what it's like calling a company and you can never get a hold of anybody, right? That's miserable. So communication's key, good customer service, and be honest with your clients, right? If you don't know something or you don't do some work, tell them I don't know or I don't do that. They'll appreciate that instead of saying, "Oh, well, I'll find a guy and maybe you'll underbid it and now you're losing money."
Yep.
So
And I like that you said that you answer the phone for your customers, and sometimes it's after hours, and not every business is different, and they're going to do things differently, but going sometimes that extra mile and making yourself available, or at least letting someone know that, hey, we aren't working today, but this day we can get back to you, we can set something up, and then it puts their mind at ease where it's like, hey, look, it's 3 or 4 days didn't, just pass and I didn't hear anything yet.
yeah, absolutely. And again, I can't always give them the answer that they want at 9 o'clock, but I'll tell them, hey, I'll work on that first thing in the morning for you. Sorry, but the office is closed as people are home. My scheduling team's not in the office, but I can work with them and I can get it to you first thing in the morning. And yeah, that might be the difference between you getting that 30, $40,000 job and somebody else getting it, right? It's just a matter of picking up the phone, taking a 30-second call, and hey, I'll get back to you right in the morning. I hate sending people to voicemail. It happens, but I do my best to call them back within the hour.
Yep. No, and that is the thing about, really being able to kind of take ownership of your business, and letting them know like, hey, look, it's after hours, but we'll get back to you, and you're trying to do your best. Will you get to everything 100%? No, right? But it's, putting forth the effort. I've listened to phone calls and being able to really just hear on the other line, how the communication is going when the person is answering the phone from the business side. And then if I'm the customer, I can only imagine how they feel, right? Like the phone picks up and you're talking to someone else in the background, and then like somebody else asks you something. Then meanwhile, like the customer's like, I have this urgency, and a minute goes by before they're even acknowledging the customer, or they put the customer on hold, and they don't know who it is, and it's just not getting back. It's no systematized organization to it, and it leaves a bad taste in the customer's mouth that really wants to say, hey, I need you to solve my problem. Like, I'm willing to just do whatever it takes, but you have to meet them halfway.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, if most of your listeners are either in the trades or own some type of trade adjacent business. Yeah, I mean, most of the time I'm getting calls. Hey, I have water dripping on my bed. My wife is super angry. Hey, my newborn's crib is getting soaked. And they just want somebody to hear them. Hey, absolutely. Please, this is what you should do. Poke a hole, let it drain. This is how you can kind of self-mitigate until somebody can get to it. And then, hey, we'll be there in a couple days. I can't, as you can imagine, everybody's experiencing this same rain. I can be there in 2 days, and then, from there, it takes a couple days just to get the team out. So set expectations properly. But yeah, communication. People just most of the time want to be heard, especially in the trades. I have an emergency going on. I will pay whatever it costs. I need this to stop, you know? And people's homes, people get really scared about their homes, right? And rightfully so. I mean, it's a big investment, and it's kind of like your check engine light. You don't know how much it's going to cost, but you know it's not going to be, it's not going to be fun. Whatever it costs, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah. No, like it's definitely not good. It's definitely not going to be fun. It's definitely not going to be fun. And most people like it's an unexpected emergency, right? So it is something that they sometimes they're not planning for the most part. Sometimes they may realize that, hey, look, I need to get this done eventually, and this will be the point I get it done. And if nothing happens in the meantime that's catastrophic, then I'll go ahead and get this work done at this scheduled time. And then the other half of that is, hey, look, we need this done. This is the situation. Like you said, they just want to be heard. And giving them that reassurance, listening to what they're going through, and then saying, okay, here's our communication plan for moving forward. This is what you should expect. So that way they know throughout the whole process, this is what's supposed to happen. This is when so and so will be here. This is the follow up. These are the date ranges. This is who you can get in contact with. And that just puts them in a really good position and makes them feel good about for the reason that they chose your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, kind of adding on to that is, when you're going through the process and what to expect and whatnot, there are times where it may be beneficial to offer them, different tiers to the repair, replacement, whatever. Hey, this is what's going on, but I know as soon as I open it up, this is probably going to leak next. We can do it together and save you some money and do it this way. Or, hey, your roof is 35 years old. Really, it should have been replaced 2 or 3 years ago. I don't really want to offer you a repair, not because I don't want to do a repair, but because I know you're just wasting this money. You may want to consider this option instead, but be honest about it. Don't just try to upsell just to try to upsell. And as you get into the game a little bit more, you might know who you can upsell if that's, your way of going about business. That's not the way I do it. I'm very informational based. I try to transfer all the knowledge I have to the client about their specific issue and try to break it down into terms that they can understand so that they're a part of me, or they're taking this journey with me to fix their home. You know, it's nothing worse than getting, a napkin quote that you don't understand what they're doing, what materials they're using, and they want you to give them $10,000, right? You're probably a pretty low success rate with that. But if you take the time to go over, hey, I know you might not understand the roof, but this is what's going on. This is why we do it. And here's the pitfalls. If you don't do it properly, this is probably what's going to happen. And just kind of educate them. Don't treat them like an idiot, but like, hey, this is why you're spending this much money and this is why it's important. And people appreciate that.
Yeah, and they do like that transparency, right? There's nothing worse than getting just a bill and say, "Hey, here's the bill," and like, well, you see the price and you're like, "Okay, what's going into this? What's going to be done? Like, what material?" And but by walking them through that, they understand, they have expectations, they appreciate that.
Exactly. And we take photos throughout. I take before photos. My guys take during and after photos. We send that with every invoice. And just showing like, hey, we did the work we said we were going to do. And you'll be surprised when you're transparent, you offer good customer service, the organic leads just flow in, right? I have a marketing budget, I think I pay Yelp somewhere in the like $3,500 a month range, something like that. But a lot of our leads are organic. I get people to call, hey, you did my neighbor's house, or hey, you
Mhm.
did my roof 15 years ago. I got a new house and this, and you just really build up. And when other people are slow and things like that, my phone's ringing, 7, 8, 9 times a day from previous clients. And I mean, it's wonderful once it starts rolling, but it will take some time to get rolling. And, you're going to have to tough it out for those years. But just treat people right, give them a decent price, and your business will grow.
Yep, and that's so valuable to the listeners. Uh, really being able to it's going to take sometimes some growing pains to be able to get to that process, but word of mouth, right? Referrals, like people trusting you, knowing that you did a good job, and hey, look, we're going to refer our neighbor or someone else in the neighborhood, or like we have another property now, and then that repeat business just keeps coming back. As you know, it was a contractor that did some work for us, and he's hard to get. We used him time and time again, but because he does such a great job now over the course, is everybody's like, "Hey, look, I need you back," and he's like, everybody needs him back, but that's a good problem to have.
Exactly. And that's when that guy's probably starting to pick and choose. Hey, I can't go do the $300 house call anymore. I'm sorry. I can refer you to a friend who does a good job, but I can't personally. But yeah, there's referral business, especially when you're doing exterior work like us, where things kind of fail in a community at the same time, like all the roofs, they're going to fail in 25, 30 years. You can knock out the whole HOA. You can get 30 homes pretty easily because you got the foot in the door with one or two, and it happened to be the HOA president. I have a job right now where a community is plagued by kind of a bad design and nobody really knows what the fix is. Well, I gave a proposal to one of the ladies that own a home there, and her paperwork got approved by the HOA president. He called me the next day and he's like, hey, I'll give you some extra money just to, come out and do this quickly for me. So just because he happened to see the HOA application process, and there's at least 20 other homes with the same issues, so that's just you gave one person good customer service, you could have just got yourself 20 more jobs doing the same exact thing.
Exactly. Just as simple as that.
Just because you treated one person right. And yeah, no, referral business, you got to really focus on that. And the best way to do that is kind of the Amazon approach. We're going to give you a white glove service. Really take care of people. That's kind of the best advice I can give a new business owner.
And excellent advice for the new business owner to be able to take that and run with it. And we love being able to give new business owners advice, existing business owners advice. And so 2024, we're thinking about the outlook of things, and we usually wrap up our segment by allowing our guests to be able to just give some valuable insights. It could be 1 to 3 of, your tips, your recommendations for navigating the roofing business in 2024.
Really learn your product, really learn your product, understand why a system works. You see time and time again, roofing specific, you try to get people that put shingles on an area where it needs a flat roof membrane, and they'll go back 100 times because they won't understand why it's leaking. Well, that's because you don't understand why the system works the way it does. So really take the time, learn your product, reach out to manufacturers. I have a partnership with GAF, and they're an excellent resource to me. Those sell hail maps to me. That stuff people usually have to pay for. I don't have to, and it really helps with insurance work. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice is really know the industry that you're in. Take the time, learn about it, ask questions about it, reach out to your local manufacturers, and just, be the smartest guy in the room on that topic. And, business is going to come your way.
Excellent. Well said. Austin, well, thanks so much for joining. We appreciate you coming in for this episode. We hope to have you back in the future. And thanks again for instilling so much insights for our listeners. And I'm sure that they appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And, everyone have a good, safe weekend.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode. Please tune in for the next episode. Don't forget to follow and like and leave your comments. Tune in again.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Blueprint Boost for Contractors. We hope you found today's insights and strategies valuable for your contracting business. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and please leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring content that truly matters.